evening, everyone. Welcome to our monthly regular meeting, and I'd like to call this meeting to order with a roll call attendance, please, Ms. Stotty.
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Here.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson, Member Bill Brown,
Here.
Member Jan Schubert,
Here.
and Secretary Dottie McKinney here.
Good evening. Hello, Miss Jen. Pleasure to see you.
Hi, Patrick.
All right, we have a quorum, and our staff in attendance this evening includes, but it's not limited to, Mr. Colander, Miss Warner, Miss Whitney Sanchez, and Miss Lisa Hughes, and our legal counsel, Patricia Matthews, throughout the evening. And let's do our Pledge of Allegiance. Do you have your flag, or do you want me to wave my little one?
You can wave your little one if you want
All
to, but
right,
I
got
do
my
have
little
it
flag.
ready if you'd
All
like.
right, we're ready. I
Okay.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Would like to open this up for public comment, and I'm trying to see if I can see the panel. I've got split screens going on, and it's working funny tonight. Anybody
Carolina,
in?
all we have is Director Hughes and
Okay.
Ms. Sanchez for your
Correct.
school business report, so I don't
Very good.
think they have public comment.
Very, very good. Then we will close public comment and move into the approval of this evening's agenda. I move to approve this evening's agenda as presented. A second, please.
I'll second. I do have an adjustment.
Okay.
The minutes link for the April 14th minutes is actually agenda for April, not the minutes
Not the
from April.
minutes. Yes, thank you. I wrote that down earlier, and I meant to mention that to Karen before we started, and I totally spaced it. And when I clicked on it, I was like, these are the minutes, or these are the agenda.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I will fix that now, but you may need a minute or two to review that before approval. But let me get that link right now. Sorry about that, Member Brown.
Thank you, because I read them at lunch today. I was like, and I clicked on it twice. I'm thinking, I'm clicking on the wrong thing, and no, that's what came up. So
I did the same thing.
yeah, it's like I goofed up. Right? I always blame me first. Well, then let's take a peek at those
Getting it.
minutes.
Just give me a
Yeah,
second.
no worries, no worries.
I assume we can still approve the minutes. Or
You probably
not the
should have
minutes,
approved it
the
without
agenda.
having read them.
Yeah, we'll look at. Yeah, the agenda's approved. Oh no, the agenda's open right now, making an adjustment to the agenda. Correct. Any other adjustments, fellow board members? Very good. Well, then we'll continue to stall a little bit here, and we'll do a roll call vote to approve this evening's current agenda with the one correction on the April 14th link that has been corrected. Ms. Dottie.
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Member Bill Brown,
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Secretary Dottie McKinney, aye.
All right, our
And
agenda passes.
Excuse me, Chair. I just want to note that Ms. Anderson, Vice Chair Anderson is here, promoting her to the panel.
Outstanding. And that's at 5:35, Miss Dottie, 5:35. All right, so looking at the minutes.
If you'd prefer, you could postpone that approval due to my error. But that's up to you, the board.
I'll think. Miss Heather, we are looking at the April 14th minutes right now, because the link on the agenda was for the agenda for that day, not the minutes. So we're just giving it a read really quick so that we can approve both our regular meeting and the special meeting
Okay,
minutes.
thank you.
So yes, we're doing. Hey, oh, we're still echoing a little bit, but not as bad.
Only when Heather unmutes.
Yeah, that is so bizarre.
I think for the audience sake and the recording, I'll go ahead and share the minutes on the screen
Oh, there you
while
go. Good
you also
idea.
reading it.
Good
Um,
idea.
so the normal. Jimline, I think on 7A, I should add that this vote was part of 7B because it looks like we sort of left that hanging. Does that be okay with you?
Oh,
7A says vote,
seven.
but we didn't really vote. It's included in the next item, and it looks sort of like we left it hanging.
Okay.
This was included
Yeah.
in the next section. Oops.
Yeah,
E
that's fine.
vote. Because it's included here. Yeah.
Right. Good correction.
I think this too, no discussion on audit, no further discussion on finance, maybe should be noted too.
Sure.
Other than what was in the school finance section, and then that was good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it didn't happen by omission, but documenting it makes it a little cleaner. That's fine. I love the saying, if it's not written down, it never happened. So,
Hmm.
all right, fellow board members, have you had an opportunity to get familiar with the April 14th meeting minutes? Hopefully. Very good. Then I will make the motion to approve the meeting minutes from our regular meeting on April 14th, 2026, and our special meeting on April 22nd, 2026. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Miss Jen. Any further discussion? Thank you for those fine tunings there, Miss Karen. If no further discussion, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve our meeting minutes from our regular meeting on April 14th, 2026, and our special meeting on April 22nd, 2026?
Yes, sir. I apologize. Who seconded the motion?
Miss Jan did.
Thank you. Thank you, Jan. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill Brown,
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Secretary Dottie McKinney. Aye.
All right. Thank you all so very much. We move right into section 5 of our agenda, which is the school finance portion. So let's bring Miss Whitney in, and we'll go over the financial packet and the bars. And we'll do 2 votes there. We'll do a vote on the financial reports, and then we'll do a vote on the bars.
Just a reminder, Chair Molina, that the bars have already been approved by your blanket
Right, we're going
last month, but she will review them with you. Yeah.
cool.
That's right. Thank you, Karen.
Yep.
All right, so 6 bars on this listing for approval and our normal financial reports that we review every month. The first bar is an REC distribution of $5,000. This is for 2 $2,500 stipends for special ed, hard to staff positions. So we have 2 individuals who will be getting $2,500 each. So this bar line goes straight to additional compensation. The next bar is did it jump too many? No, the next bar is a small decrease for our Idea B preschool fund, decrease of $445. We took this off of general supplies and materials. The next bar is a substantial increase to our regular Idea B fund. And so Lisa and I work together, and we've identified 2 staff members that we are going to pay out of this fund in addition to the other staff that are already being paid out of Idea B. The other option would have been to pay for some of the ancillary services, the speech therapists and things like that. As far as RFRs go, it's easier to request reimbursement for salaries, and all of their work currently aligns with the grant objectives. The next bar is an even bigger increase. This is your foundation donation bar. So in order to expend the funds, we have to have budget authority. So we're recording the donation of almost 9 million from the foundation into the foundation fund. And the lines identified here are some things that we have spent throughout the year out of the operational fund that can be offloaded into the foundation fund to alleviate some of the burden that was on operational for the year. The remainder, because we have to submit a balanced bar, we have to budget that we were going to spend every dollar of this donation. So it's all accounted for on expenditure lines, but some of it is more of just for the purpose of balancing the bar and holding the place for it. As you saw in the budget review a few weeks ago, we are projecting cash carryover out of this fund, so we don't anticipate spending the full amount. And the next bar is another increase. These are all end of the year final adjustments to some of our grants. That's the reason for the blanket approvals, because these just kind of start coming in a little bit at a time. So it expedites getting these approved. So Lisa in her funding tracker listed the items that were going to be purchased with this additional award, and they all fall under the supply assets category. So not your general supplies and materials, slightly more expensive supplies, but do not meet the threshold for capital assets. So they're considered supply assets. And another small increase to your Perkins Reserve Fund. We're going to move a small portion of a salary and a portion of the retirement that's associated with that salary to this fund. The next reports are your check listing report, and in Finance Committee last week, I said that we were entirely caught up with outstanding AP, but this week we have identified a few invoices that are stragglers from some of the older items that had yet to be paid. So the goal for this week is to not have any outstanding AP items past the 30 days or even within the month of May, to truly get entirely caught up. We did look at them. Jake and I just met just a couple of hours ago, actually, for our weekly meeting, and I pulled up all of the outstanding invoices. There aren't large ones. One of them was as small as $27. So, not any significant checks outstanding. We do just have older invoices that need to get paid. This Herrera School Buses is actually 2 months worth of payment on this listing. So that was one of the bigger checks. And then the top of the sheet is your accounts payable. The bottom of the sheet is your payroll liabilities, and not a lot of deviations month over month on payroll. It's pretty consistent. And then your usual tax liabilities and benefits. The next few pages, and I'm just going to click through them, but you can always email me if something stands out and you have a question. And even prior months, 2 or 3 months ago, if something caught your attention and you suddenly remembered you wanted to email me, you're not limited to just emailing questions about this report. But this is more detail on the checklisting that you just saw. You can see the specific items and the funds that we paid them out of. And of course, most of these have been encumbered since the beginning of the school year. We have had to do a few PO increases as we've neared the end of the year because we spent a little more than anticipated when the purchase order was initially opened. We have a few new purchase orders that are being opened now for things like graduation, end of the year expenses. But most of these have been encumbered all year. It's long, so pardon my scrolling. This is still the check report. And I will also try to be more explicit when I'm describing the reports, just in case there are members of the audience that don't know exactly what we're speaking to, so that it can be more clear what we're talking about.
And all of these reports were reviewed by the Finance Committee last week as well.
Yeah. So this report here is your budget versus your projected expenditures. Your projected expenditures are your actual expenses that you've incurred plus encumbered expenses. So this is where you can see what you have budgeted versus what we think you are going to spend. So right now we're a little under budget in the operational fund. We did not budget for cash carryover in the operational fund. So at June 30th, we're saying that we are going to spend the entire operational fund. And then you can see some of your other either state or special revenue funds, your lease assistance, and then your capital outlay funds, your other capital outlay funds. And then this bottom graph details the same thing, that your percent of budget spent by fund number. So we have them all listed out here. The next page is the opposite side. This is your revenue. So your fund balance, what you came in with cash beginning of the year, your budgeted revenue, your actual revenue year to date, and then where you are, the green line is your total budget. And then the graph at the bottom of this sheet, this is your cash. It isn't forward-looking cash position, but is a historical look at your cash position. And then you'll notice in April, we had a really big jump because we had a large donation. So we do look at your cash every month. This next chart, similar to the one 2 slides ago, this is your revenue budgeted versus current revenue. And as we get to the end of the year, your current revenue gets closer and closer to your budgeted revenue in the operational fund. Monthly deposit, it only goes up every year, every month. And then we have a comparison, your expenditure by month compared to your monthly change. What did we spend this month compared to last month? What are we spending year to date? Which obviously that line is only going to go up. And then how does that compare to last year? So we did see a little pickup in expenses in March compared to February. We had just taken over in February, so we weren't doing much AP. We were just getting bearings. And then these graphs show where we're spending our money by function, which is, are we spending it on the classroom and on the kids? And the next section shows how are we spending that money. And most of the budget is going to the kids, and it is on compensation and benefits. And that's the same thing we saw with the budget. Most of the budget goes to compensation and benefits next year also. And no big deviations month over month in either category by function or by object. So staying consistent there. The next probably 30 pages are your account summary reports. These are the details by revenue. That's this page here. You can see your budgeted, your actual, and then encumbrance. We don't encumber revenue. And then what is left? What are we still expecting to get for the remainder of the year? And this data is what fed your graphs. And the next report is an expenditure roll-up report. You can see your budget, your original budget, your current budget. So if we had any changes, bars throughout the year, your actuals year-to-date expenditures, this is cash out the door. Encumbrances is what we are anticipating to spend for the rest of the year and what is available. And you can also have the column percent of budget spent. This report is called a Statement of Revenues, Expenditures, and Change in Fund Balance. Other organizations, the corporations might refer to it as an income statement. It does show you your net position. This report tells us how much revenue we have received, actuals year to date, expenditures year to date, our fund balance at the beginning of the year, and our fund balance at the end of the year. So you can see the change from where we started versus what's come in and gone out, and then where we're at right now. So this is essentially your net position. And this is broken out by fund. Next report is your bank account reconciliation report. Your bank account does reconcile to the penny. Ended with almost 4 million in the bank at the end of April with that large donation. These items listed here are the items that cleared the bank account. The previous check listing is the checks that we cut, that we issued. It does not necessarily mean that the money left the bank in the month that we cut the check. Sometimes it does. This is what cleared the bank in the month of April related to accounts payable and payroll. These are your outstanding items, and it has been a to-do list item since we took over in February. There are some stale items in here that I need to go and resolve. And now that budget is wrapping up and coming to an end, focus on the year-end cleanup, tying up all the loose ends and taking care of these items. And these are voided checks. We had to do a reprint of a check. And this is your reconciliation report with your GL detail. So you can see all of the account codes. And you can see that deposit right there, cash receipts batch. And then lastly, this is your actual bank statement so that you can verify and validate that everything that we said happened in the accounting software did actually happen on your bank account. And that is it. And as Chair Molina mentioned, He and Mr. Brown and Mr. Colander and myself all reviewed this on Thursday.
You might have seen the name on that check that didn't clear, Chair Molina, and I about went into my Rodney Dangerfield. I get the respect because that was my check that didn't clear, but at least it makes sure that our I's are dotted and T's are crossed when the check issued to me has a hiccup.
Right.
I have to reissue. I don't know, Ms. Sanchez, I'm sorry if I missed you mentioning this, but I did think we should let the board know about the IRS payment.
Yeah, I didn't mention it. I was reading through the report, but yes, I do think that is noteworthy. So we got a piece of mail this week. Apparently in 2021, some IRS payments, potentially multiple, were not made on time or at all, and it resulted in a significant penalty from the IRS to the tune, and the outstanding amount owed was roughly $5,000. The penalty was $85,000. This is back from 2021. So Jake wasn't here at the time. Haley, our payroll person, wasn't here at the time. Well, obviously we weren't either. Um, but given the fact that we did get a good donation from the foundation, we can do a payment plan, but they're still gonna attach interest if we don't just pay it at once. So I think the best bet is just to pay the IRS penalty. And it's something that Jake and I talked about in our meeting a couple of hours ago. Haley was able to log in and see a little bit more detail around what it was for. But we don't want any more surprises like that. And being that it was 5 years ago, we just want to make sure there isn't something else that's going to creep up on us that hasn't been paid, and the IRS is just tacking on penalties and interest every day. So I think we should just pay it and do some reconciliation and research and make sure there's nothing hiding that didn't get paid somewhere down the line.
Hmm.
And this is also the first that I've seen anything. The first, obviously, that Whitney's seen anything. It came in a certified letter for Tina, who scanned it to us right away and just said, hey, this just got here today. So none of us, it wasn't like there was a letter that's been looming for the last several years that we've ignored. None of us were aware that there was this missing payment from 2021.
So, question, how did that make it for 5 years? I mean, wouldn't we have seen an imbalance somewhere along the line that we still had money that didn't belong to us? And why didn't an audit catch this beforehand?
That was Jake's question too. As far as the audit, if they didn't pick that particular payroll, if it was related to your 941, for example, every time we do direct deposit, you have to do your EFTPS deposits the same day that you're paying payroll. If they didn't pick that payroll to ensure all the liabilities were paid, the auditors could have missed it there. As far as a balance on your balance sheet, it should have been an outstanding payroll liability. So did somebody just clear the outstanding payroll liability with a journal entry, which then wasn't presented for approval, which would have flagged it to you all that why are we not paying our outstanding liability? Why are we just basically erasing it from the system so that then it just goes unchecked until the IRS decides to mail a letter?
This may or may
And
not be.
it just came, so I haven't investigated and you don't have a historical from 2021 in APTA. So I would need to go to the Office of the State Auditor's website, pull your audited financials and see if there's anything we can track down, do a little bit of forensic accounting, see if we can track down what happened in 2021.
Right.
I
Because
think
my
we were using APTA in that year, were we not?
Were you in APTA that year?
I
Because
believe
you
so, but
had it and then left and came back. Okay.
yes.
So that's helpful because then I can go in and at least see what's in APTA.
and I just want to, I don't know if this is related, Whitney, but I'm going to share with you that my 2021 Social Security wages were not listed in my Social Security account. And I contacted Axiom at the time, and that got corrected. But I don't know, it seems odd that those were missing, like from, when you go look at your social, I'm getting close to retirement. So when you go look at your Social Security every year, it shows how many what your wages for every year. I was missing some, and it was for Academy under Axiom. They
So
did fix it, but I wonder if it's related to that.
that would make sense. So when we do your 941s, I mean your EFTPS, every payroll, you list the total amount of federal tax liability, and then you break it down by the federal withholding line, the FICA, and the Medicare line, and we report those amounts. So if nothing was reported on those amounts and then a correction was made, that means they also didn't make the deposits for those amounts at the
And
time.
it wasn't just me, there were other
Right.
employees
There would have to have
impacted.
been.
Mhm.
Okay. That's a good starting point, and that is useful information.
And then I don't know, I know that the IRS is not particularly fond of waiving penalties, but I know that the school could request it if you have a reasonable cause. And I don't know if a
Maybe,
mistake from a previous business office
I mean, if
is
anything,
a
maybe just
reasonable
to get it
cause.
reduced.
I
I
would
think it
like
would
to
be worth
pursue that.
asking
Like
for
if
it.
we're going to pay it, if we're ready to pay today, can you at least reduce the amount?
Yeah, I think it'd be worth, and I'm happy to help with that, but I think it'd be worth at least submitting a request. Worst they say is no, and you owe the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I just don't think we should do a payment plan. I think
I
whatever the
agree.
outcome is, I think we need to just get it done and off
Right.
the
Right. Because the payment plan then comes with interest on top of it all. So
right.
it's not, but yeah, I'd like to understand how that happened and how it was missed, and then see if the IRS will play nice.
Agreed.
So I think we will not vote on that this evening. We just found out, right? When was
Oh,
it?
wait.
Today? Yesterday? When did we get it?
Yesterday,
Yesterday.
right? Wasn't it
So
yesterday?
yeah, let's get
Yeah.
some more understanding behind this and appeal to the IRS, and then we can bring it to the board or to the finance committee and then the board, hopefully by our next meeting to get this
Mhm.
resolved. So um wow. Lovely. Boy, I'm not even sure I was on the board yet back in 21. So
Yeah.
lovely. Well, thank you, Miss Whitney.
Thank you for the
Another,
reminder, Jake.
yeah, thank you.
No, not a problem.
Pardon me. All right. Yeah, my gosh. Every time we're just at the cusp of being right where we want to be. All right, I'll put a motion out there to open it up for discussion. I move to improve our monthly financial packet as presented for the month ending April 30th, 2026. A second, please.
All second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the finance committee is going to want to know a whole lot more about this little issue. I'm asking the easy questions, so let's see what we can let's see what we can discover before we start asking the really hard questions, because I'd like to avoid this. And again, do we did we it's 2021. Who was doing our payroll? We're doing that in-house, or did we have somebody, was our business partner doing that? Our business manager.
That was also being managed through Axiom
Was it Axiom or was it Vihil?
in
Mm.
21.
I think that was Vihil.
It might have changed there. Let me go check. But the part of the year that affected me, I only started July of 21 with Explore Academy,
Right.
and the part of the so that part of the year was an Axiom resolution. But let me go check the history
Okay.
on the
And it
business
does seem
partnerships,
like it's related towards the end of 2021, based on the dates on that notice.
which would make sense because I was only employed July to December of that year.
And I'm trying to remember when I jumped in. Was it 21 or 22? But it was at the beginning of the school year. I remember I started like in August timeframe, September timeframe. It's on the end of our agenda, one of those reports down there show when the members
Yeah,
came and left.
Patrick, You officially started on August 10th of 2021.
Wow.
So it was brand new. All right. I'm the last man standing from that era. All right, very good. Any further discussion, any questions we need to pose to Ms. Sanchez? Like I said, we did indeed cover those reports much slower in the finance committee. We did have a handful of questions, but it'll be nice to see those stale checks get cleaned up in the next month or so now that we're winding down the budget activity. So that'll be lovely, Ms. Sanchez. Any other questions or comments, fellow board members? Very good. Then, Ms. Study, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve our monthly financial packet as reported for the month ending April 30th, 2026?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill Brown,
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Very good. Thank you all so very much. And then the bars were automatically approved based on our vote. But Karen, do we need to have a vote to ratify the bars?
I don't know that you need to, but it wouldn't hurt
I don't think it
to
would hurt.
document it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I move to ratify the budget adjustment requests ending in 32-I, 33-I, 35-D, 36-I, 37-I, and 38-I. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. All right. So they've already been approved. So Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to ratify the budget adjustment requests ending in 32I, 33I, 35D, 36I, 37I, and 38I?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Thank you all so very much. Very good. We do not have a learning celebration this evening, although it's on the agenda. There's not one scheduled. Miss Whitney, thank you so much. You're welcome to hang around. I bet Miss Karen's going to put you back in the
Okay.
gallery, but thank you so very much. We'll see you in just a few weeks.
All right, thank you.
Very good. I move to enter a closed session for the purpose of discussing the acquisition of the school's current campuses at 6600 Galton Court Northeast and 5100 Masthead Street Northeast in Albuquerque, New Mexico, by entering a lease purchase agreement or several pursuant to the Public School Lease Purchase Act. And this session is authorized under Section 10-15- H8 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. All right. And Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to enter into a closed session for the purpose of discussing the acquisition of the school's current campuses at 6600 Galton Court and 5100 Masthead Street Northeast in Albuquerque, New Mexico, by entering lease purchase agreements pursuant to the Public School Lease Purchase Act?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Very good. Ms. All right, the matters discussed in the closed session were limited only to those specified on the agenda. I move to close the closed session and re-enter the regular session. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Jan. Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to close the closed session and re-enter the regular session?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
I. Excuse me, I.
Bill Brown
Aye.
and Jan Schubert
I.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Very good. Thank you all very much. I move to approve both resolutions discussed in the closed session, numbered 0501-2026 and 0502-2026 of the Explore Academy Governing Council, wherein the council authorizes the execution of the lease purchase agreements, one for the Galton campus and another for the Masthead campus, described therein with EAF Albuquerque, a Texas limited liability company, on the condition that the lease purchase agreements are approved by the New Mexico Public Education Department as presented to us by staff and our legal counsel. A second, please.
I will second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further discussion, ladies and gentlemen? Very good. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve both resolutions numbers 0501-2026 and 0502-2026 of the Explore Academy Governing Council, wherein the council authorizes the execution of the lease purchase agreements, one for Galton campus and another for Masthead campus, described therein with EAF Albuquerque, a Texas limited liability company, on the condition that the lease purchase agreements are approved by the New Mexico Public Education Department as presented to us by staff and our legal counsel.
Yes. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
I.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
Jan Schubert,
I.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so very much, and thank you all for that closed session. Very educational, and I feel very good about what we're presenting to the PED. That takes us into item B of section 7 of this evening's agenda, the IFB for the school-owned vehicle sale. And are we bringing Miss Lisa Hughes in?
Yes, Chair Molina, I think there you are.
Good evening, Chair Molina and members of the board.
Good
I know it's
evening.
been a long evening already. My items aren't that long tonight. So as you know, we did have an invitation for bid for our school-owned SUV for sale. We have extended that invitation for bid because yesterday was the deadline for the second IFB, and unfortunately, we still had no bids. So we have extended it now until June 3rd. And we are bumping up some advertisement for that, including giving out the information to staff members to share with families, to share with friends. We are posting it in our HAL newsletter, and we are also working with our marketing team to put it on social media. So no items to approve or vote on tonight, just to let you know that it is still open for bid, and we have had no bids on it. So if there's any questions for that before I move on to the next item.
Not
I'm
for
sorry,
me.
Lisa, could you remind me the deadline now is what? June? I should
June
know. I have
3rd,
to.
June
Thank you.
3rd at noon.
I just wanted to put it in the minutes. Thanks.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, and we'll see if social media comes to the rescue on selling this vehicle.
Fingers crossed. I mean, hopefully, but we'll see. I'll be back at the next board meeting, hopefully with a different update.
Maybe even a check.
That's right. Hopefully.
Very good.
Next item is we do have an RFP out for student transportation. We did have one last year and unfortunately did not put in a clause that it could be renewable or the contract could be extended for an additional 3 years so that we didn't have to go to RFP every year. We have now put that in there. That is posted. The submission deadline is May 28th. So you'll see me at the June 9th meeting as well for an award recommendation for our student transportation for next year.
Very good.
And
Thank you.
then the one item that probably will need your vote is I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Can you all see my screen? I probably need to make it a little bit bigger.
Yes, please.
All
Yeah,
right,
bigger
can you
would
see
be
that?
good, but we see it. Yeah, that's better.
Okay, perfect. So we have one more grant application that we are applying for, and it's our Fine Arts Education Award grant. I have reviewed this with Mr. Colander, and it is for promoting access to excellence in education through the arts, humanities, literacy, math, and sciences to help foster a rich cultural life, boost learning and achievement. It is rolled into the SEG, but we do have to talk about how we support fine arts in our school with our art teachers, our drama teachers for our fine arts seminars. And so we use this allocation to support the salary of a fine arts teacher. The application is due at the end of May, with the award allocations typically given at the end of August. We do not know the amount because it is rolled into SEG. It does come with an award table, but you can see here, based on our FY26 application, it's based on the current unit value, so that's typically what we anticipate to get, and it is just rolled into SEG for salaries. So there is an assurances form that is linked to the board agenda that if you approve us to apply for this grant, we would need Chair Patrick Molina's signature. We would need Head Administrator Colander's signature, and then our business office and our fine arts teacher, who this is specifically for K6. So we work a lot with the elementary school, but they do collaborate with the art teacher at the mid-high to support the sixth grade students as well.
Yeah, and it is based on your population in K to 6.
Oh,
And
K
so
to
with that, I'll
6.
stand for any questions.
Is the application down below, Ms. Hughes?
It's not, it's just basic questions about what we do with our
Okay.
program, how often students get fine arts classes, and that varies, of course, by grade level. So we've kind of tried to wrap it in, what the kids get at the younger grades versus what the kids get up in fifth and sixth grade. It talks about how they work on standards and how they will do a program for the families and a community event that will showcase artwork and things like that. So it's all about getting art out in our community as well.
All right. Thank you. And we're estimating 222,000, give or take.
That's what it was this year. Again, they don't give us an amount because it is rolled into the SEG based on the population, like Miss Warner said.
So when it's rolled into the SEG, will we then know what the number is?
Yes, we will get an award table and we'll put that on our funding sources sheet, but we probably won't know that until about August, the end of August.
Just to be clear, we will know the amount, but it won't be delineated. It just comes with the SEG payments, each payment. Yeah.
But we need that amount to make sure our budget is square and that we've got all the bars squared and all that accountability. So
Absolutely.
So you are asking the board to approve the application for the Fine Arts Education Act as presented?
Yes, please. And Mr.
Wonderful.
Colander has reviewed the application as well.
Outstanding. I move to approve the Fine Arts Education Act application as presented by Ms. Hughes. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Jack. Any other questions for Ms. Hughes before I move into a vote? Very good. Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the Fine Arts Education Act application as presented to us by Ms. Lisa Hughes?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
Dan Schubert,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Thank you very much, Chair Molina,
You're very welcome.
and members of the board.
And thank you for your continued hard work and chasing all these grants and opportunities down. I have no idea how much money you're responsible for bringing into this school, but it's probably a pretty penny.
It's all for the students. Like I say every time, that's what I do. It's for the students and just to give them the opportunities that they have. So I'm
Awesome.
grateful to do it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Have a great evening, everybody.
You too.
Thank you.
We move on to section 7 Echo, which is policies. There's a part-time resolution we need to discuss, and Mr. Colander will explain that in detail, and then the salary schedule for all of the other positions. So, Mr. Colander, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. So the part-time resolution is something that comes up every year. And I remember a couple of years ago, we had a conversation about this and we were sort of back and forth with, is this something that we want to have as a school. And I said there may be a time when a position opens up, but at the same time, it's very pricey for us to fund benefits for people that are in a part-time role. And so we have not ever passed a part-time resolution until I'm asking now, essentially, for the part-time resolution. So as a school, I think what we have seen, and I'll explain a little bit more about this during my school leader report, is the one thing that has buoyed us up in the face of some of the concerns that PED has leveraged is the quality of our academic outcomes. And I think what we are seeing in terms of some shifting student populations, nationally speaking, I want to mention this is not about Explore Academy per se, but I think what we're seeing as trends in public schools right now is that if we don't do something to really shore up the academic strength of our school, we run the risk of some academics dropping off. By contrast to other schools in the state, I think we will always do well. But I don't just want to perform well when, in terms of the standard in New Mexico, I want to perform well in the standard that's more nationalized. So one role that we really wanted to implement this year was to provide additional coaching and assistance for the uniqueness of our model via a new position that is called the content specialist position. For our school, this would not be a full-time position. This is a part-time position. When we went through the numbers initially, we identified it as a 0.25 position because that matches how much we're paying them. It matched what they needed to be able to report it to ERB. What we all sort of failed to notice was that it disqualifies them from being able to receive health insurance benefits. Because the difference between ERB and the health insurance is one is based on your FTE, the other is based on hours worked per week. And so health insurance, the NIPTIA benefits, they have to have worked 20 hours or more a week to qualify for them. What I would like is to see if we can, to suggest to the board that we look at completing a part-time resolution so that it's a total of 6 employees that would be able to fall beneath the 20-hour indicator, but still be able to qualify for health insurance benefits. One thing that we had talked about in the past was the potential for this to be abused and what happens if people start asking for part-time roles. And I think by and large, that's just not something that any of us care to entertain. We in the past tried to have 2 EAs that were part-time each, that one did like a Monday through Wednesday morning and the other did Wednesday afternoon through Friday. That just doesn't work. And at this point on a 4-day calendar, to get to 20 hours a week is a lot because we don't have a Friday to lean on for those hours as well. So it would really only qualify for employees that do still work on essentially a 5-day-a-week basis, which is anybody who is in a directorship role, all of the administration. We all sort of parse our hours out, including Fridays, because even though it's off for the school, we're all working on those days anyway. This particular role, it would be parsed out through Fridays as well. So to get them to 16 hours in a week is easy. But I don't think we'd have anyone that would take us up on a part-time position for the school if they cannot access benefits as a part of it. Again, I think this new position that we're pushing for actually really strongly supports our model. And the difference is this, I guess I'll lay it out this way. So I'm an old school English teacher who liked books and scrolls. Our director of curriculum and instruction is an old school English teacher who liked books and scrolls. Our instructional coach at the mid-high is an old school English teacher. Our assistant principal at the mid-high is an old school English teacher. In other words, you have a whole team of the instructional support of the school, all ex-English teachers. So what does this mean when we're evaluating the quality of our science exams, our math exams, our social studies exams? It means all of us are doing the best we can without the content matter expertise to really inform the quality of those exams. Where it's bitten us in the butt in the past is that we have stipended staff to work on these exams over the course of the summer. Once they're rolled out to content teachers, they tend to look at them and say, well, you've made a mistake here or here. And it went so far into having some of our content. We had a parent who's a UNM professor who's an engineer who contacted me directly a couple of years ago and said, I kind of want to talk to you about one of your assessments because the math was wrong. And it was because it was not vetted properly by someone who had the content expertise. This would equip us to do it. We want to staff it with some high quality professionals. We have a team that has accepted the role and are excited for it, but might back out if they can't access insurance benefits for their families. So this is what the part-time resolution allows, is that we would, if the board agrees to pass it, you all would pass it. It would then be passed to, I'm forgetting the acronym for this one. It's not NMIPSIA. Starts with an E.
The NIMSIA contractor, I don't know it either,
Yeah.
but
Something. Their deadline to pass this was actually in April. And had I known that this position was coming up, I would have presented this resolution to the board on our April 14th meeting. But at that time, that idea was just a concept, and we didn't realize how it would play out logistically once they were hired. And again, because we had to go back and relook and go, there's a different qualifier for ERB versus NMIPSIA. That's when we discovered it. So I reached out to them already directly and said, I know that we missed your deadline. This is something that I would like to present to my board as a possibility for the school. If they were to agree to pass this on the 12th, would you allow us to submit it? And she wrote back and said, if they vote to pass it on the 12th, get it to me immediately, and we will have it on our board agenda for their board in June, so that they can approve on their side. So theoretically, I guess their board could reject it. I don't know why they would. They're getting more members, but we did get permit. I did the sort of the footwork already to reach out to them independently and say, we have passed your deadline, but can we still do this? There's a need that's come up. I would like to present it to my board and see if they approve it. So that's my spiel for the part-time resolution. I think Mrs. Werner has attached the documentation, both for the information as well as the form that would need to be signed on the agenda.
and Mr. Collider, to answer your question, the benefits representative is with EASI, but they're just a contractor to NIMSIA.
Okay.
I am very familiar with this document because we did go over it 2 years ago in great detail, but a handful of you were not here 2 years ago, so hopefully you had an opportunity to go through it.
Any questions for me that I can answer?
Yep. And the resolution in a nutshell is we are going to extend health insurance benefits to part-time employees. That is it in a nutshell. Very good. Well, then let's open it up for discussion by a motion. I move to approve the part-time resolution as presented. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Any questions, everybody, about this? I want to say about 2 years ago, this would have impacted one person, one possible person. And that's why we decided, you know what, let's not approve that until we really need to. And we finally have a great case to approve this and put it to work. So that was a good decision then. And it looks like it's here again. So those are my thoughts
And
on the matter. Any further discussion?
just want the board to know that you can vote annually. So if you changed your mind for any reason, you could vote next year to change it. But
Correct.
each year it's an opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not even sure we brought it last year.
Yeah, we
So,
did.
did we bring it? Okay.
Mhm.
I do remember the conversation 2 years ago. That's when that stuck in my head. Very good. No further discussion. Going once, twice. Very good. Ms. Study, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the part-time resolution as presented?
Yes, sir. And I apologize again. I'm watching the screen over here and I didn't hear who seconded the motion.
Heather.
Heather, thank you. Chair Patrick Molina. Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Member Bill Brown.
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert.
Aye.
And Dottie McKinney, aye.
Thank you all very much. The motion passes. And then the salary schedule for nurses and ancillary support, Mr. Cole.
Excellent. Thank you. And again, like we're learning all kinds of things right now when it comes to hiring and licensed professionals, one of which specifically had to do with our nurse. We require an LPN, but we are getting, we did have an applicant who's very strong who has accepted a position with us just this morning, who is an RN. But it's very hard to find people with those kinds of credentials and qualifications if we cannot keep pace with a salary that they recognize they're getting a payoff in terms of time. but because they have more time off than an RN in a hospital would. But they're also just financially, it's hard to compete with that. And so one thing that was suggested is that the license, normally a nurse will get a license similar to what you see on the salary schedule, a level 1, level 2, or level 3. We did just get a memo this morning that they're altering the qualifications for a level 3 for anyone who is a school nurse. But essentially, what we would like is to sort of put our own policy into place regarding that salary schedule so that we can pull in people that are more qualified for this. So our school, as an example, this year had 2 RNs. They were absolutely wonderful. And we had 1 health assistant that went back and forth between the 2 campuses. This is going to be an unfortunate but fortunate. Unfortunately, we will not have them back next year. But fortunate for them is because both of them just had babies and they both are going to be stay-at-home moms for a little while. So that's a great opportunity for them, and we wish them the best in that, and glad that they could take the time to help raise their kids that way. But it means that the RN that we were talking to now is sort of saying, I can't do this for $55,000 a year, which is what how they would qualify them is even if they have RN experience, they start off as a level 1 year 0 school nurse. And so this would help increase their capacity to get some higher earnings, which might bring more candidates in who are at that level that we want. Because if we go to 1 nurse overseeing 2 schools, we really want someone who's on the top of their game. And we do, like I said, we just hired someone who is at the top of her game, and I really want to keep her. And I don't want it to become a money issue. I'd rather lose her to her also having a baby sometime this coming year than because for some reason we couldn't meet her financial needs.
May I add a few
Please,
comments
yeah.
about what
Of
I
course.
prepared? So in your agenda, the link is to the salary schedule you approved, which is for licensed staff, levels 1, 2, 3. The problem is that a level 1 or level 2 nurse isn't making comparative to, it's hard to attract them. What I wanted to share with you in doing a little research was, for example, on the second page of the document, just for your consideration and discussion, these are examples from another school district. This is actually from Rio Rancho Public Schools, but the way they break it down is their levels are similar. Like they have level 1, 2, 3 based on licensure for all your licensed teachers and coaches and interventionists, counselors. And they do, I just wanted to add that they do, maybe I should share my screen in case you're not all looking at it. Hold on 1 second. I think it's this one, but let me move this out of the way. Share. Okay. I think you're seeing, oops, no. Are you not seeing the right thing, are you?
Yeah, I think we are.
Oh, you were? Oh, sorry. My bad. My screen was showing the board memo that I had up earlier, so
It
that
says
was weird.
suggestions for
That's the
consideration and
one.
discussion.
Is it still right?
It is now.
Okay, so as I said, for your typical licensed staff professional support, it's the salary schedule you already approved in April. I did want to point out that Rio Rancho does have that if you're coming in as a new employee, they do max out at 20 years of prior experience. Not sure if the board wants to consider that as part of this discussion or vote, but anyway, on the ancillary, level 1 nurses with it that have just the LPN, and they maxed it out at 15 years prior experience, are still level 1. And then these particular positions are at level 2 regardless of what they hold. So if someone has a licensed master social work, LMSW, or a nurse RN with an associate's degree, they were put at the level 2. Then other positions such as um, audiologists, diagnosticians, licensed clinical social workers, which are higher than the licensed master, nurse and RN with bachelor's, psychologists, SLPs, those are speech language pathologists, occupational therapists, recreational therapists, physical therapists. Most of these folks we contract with because we don't need full time, although your school does have a full-time SLP at the elementary school because we have so many students who need that support. But they're put at level 3, and it's sort of irregardless of what level of licensure they have. And I think that helps get the salaries to more competitive with still not as much as they'd make as a nurse in a hospital somewhere, but they're also having a less intense job, but at least making a salary that's competitive a little bit. So, and then also wondering if you, uh, in addition to or alternatively, want to include in your salary schedule that the head administrator has the discretion to provide additional stipends up to a certain amount if you want for hard to fill positions. So one or both. And the reason I'm really concerned about this, board members, is that when they do it, what's called a teacher cost index by the New Mexico Public Education Department, and it's how we are paid for our teachers. The more experienced teachers have a more than 1.0 weighting, if you will, in terms of how we get funded. So they do audits on occasion, and if you have paying folks that are not in alignment with your salary schedules, they result in dings, and then the following year you get a little hit on your teacher cost index, which does affect your budget. And I don't know how significantly, it depends how bad their audit is, but I think it's important that if we're not going to be using this salary schedule for all licensed staff, we need to delineate who we're not using it for. And this seemed to make the most sense just based on um, looking at other traditional school districts and how they're paying those folks, because we compete with them for these folks as well. But doesn't have, that was just a suggestion. I stand for questions or certainly defer to Mr. Colander on tweaking any of this. It was just an example of how you might want to adopt to accommodate these kinds of positions.
Yeah, we're finding that this is, I mean, what they used to identify as what they called hard to fill positions, which specifically was like special education teachers, math teachers, like more and more hard to fill positions are coming up. We're having, I'll talk a little bit more about that in the school leader report, but I think at least having something like this for those who fit within these qualifications will again make this a more attractive space for them.
So I was looking at, because I've got nurses who work for me at Presbyterian, the difference, if you look at that pay scale from a 20-year nurse to a 35-year nurse, 35-year nurse at level 3, which I believe is the third from the left column. Is that right?
Third from the left is level 1.
I'm sorry. Third from the right. Sorry.
Correct.
Yeah. So if you look at the 20-year mark and the 30-year mark, it's not that, it's a $3,000 difference.
Sure.
And recruiting nurses for a healthcare system is extremely challenging and extremely competitive. And I would say for level 2s and 3s, I would propose not having a max. Because if they've been in the industry that long, they're coming in with a great deal of experience, and RNs, and I'm pretty sure OTs and the rest of them have to do continuing ed hours as well to keep their licenses current, which means you've got somebody with 30 years of experience and keeping their licenses current should be paid correctly, in my humble opinion. And again, that's coming from somebody in the healthcare industry. So, but that's just me. That's just me.
And to be honest, Chair Molina, I didn't really wasn't proposing, but I wanted you to be aware that they did set those maximums on the sample I was pulling from.
Right.
But I don't disagree with you necessarily.
Yeah.
So
If we're going to be competitive, we need to be serious about it. The LPN one, I didn't have a problem with the minimum there because if you look at the pay scale, it sort of bottoms out itself very quickly. So
and
and an
to be
LPN
clear,
would really be a health assistant level person anyway, typically.
right? If you hire an LPN, you have to have an RN that they work under, whether it's
Correct.
even if it's not an employee, it could be a
That's right.
contract with an RN.
Correct.
So that's why the level 1 seems
Yep.
appropriate to me to leave
Yep.
there.
No, that absolutely, because the LPN or an MA, a medical assistant, works under the license of either the provider that they work for or the nurse that they work for. That is correct. So, um, so yeah, otherwise, I think those levels are appropriate. Yep. But that's my input from the health plan and health services delivery system perspective. What other questions or comments do you all have, board members?
I guess maybe something to bring up is that third bullet point of additional stipend up to. So I'll just sort of identify, for instance, the RN that we hired. She kind of said this is about the pay I was looking for. If we had to bring her in as a level one, I was trying to figure out how to offset what that would be to kind of bring her up to her expectations, and that was about 10,000 more than what the level one minimum was. So it would take her up to like 65. So that was kind of the hard number amount that it was sort of like have the discretion up to. That amount would be an example of how that was in action. And I didn't really have, I mean, I think I chatted with Karen because I didn't really have guidance on what we can do in that and what is approved for that. So that if we run into a situation where we hire somebody else who fits within these guidelines, if there's something we can offer just to offset the cost or to bring them in a little bit higher because it's a hard to fill position, this puts it.
Almost done.
Is this person an RN with an associate's or with a bachelor's or better?
This is an RN with a bachelor's and 7 years of teaching middle school math.
So we're okay. But she's been licensed as a nurse for 7 years?
She's been licensed as a nurse. I'm trying to think of how long. She has a bachelor's in nursing. She's finishing her master's this summer,
Okay.
and has her RN license. I forget how long she's worked as a nurse, but the part of what made her really, or like to me, a very qualified candidate that we wanted is this is a person who specifically loves an educational environment. This isn't
Right.
a nurse who's trying to match her schedule with her children's schedule, right? This is someone who loves education and wants to be in schools and has a bachelor's. Yeah.
So if that nurse has a bachelor's, she's at the level 3, and with 0 years, it's 75,164. So does that work?
That more than works. We were talking, and if she had come in without something like this, she'd have been brought in as a level 1 year 0, so she'd have been 55.
Yeah.
And what she was asking for was about 10,000 higher than that to say this is kind of what I would look for. That's about what we paid our RNs this year, was in the 60s, each of them. So it got her up. But
Does it make sense then, Jake, to just leave nurses, RNs at level 2?
I think there's a difference in qualification between a nurse who's got an associate's and a nurse.
Correct.
There is,
Correct.
and I
Guaranteed.
distinguish this, but they might actually, if they've been working in a school, they'll have a higher level. But if you're new to a school nurse, I think you get level 1 regardless. So that's why it's hard. But I'm just asking if maybe just having I know the delineation and separated them here, but if we really wanted to just keep RN here, and then especially if the board's going to adopt this, if we still had trouble finding them, it would give you some leeway to
I
just
think
options.
I think we keep the levels very well defined and not do an additional stipend, because then I think the stipend becomes tricky.
Yeah, I'm
Sure.
concerned about it ongoing. I mean, after every year, it's still that additional $10,000 on top of. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
Well, I was proposing that for other positions not listed above, like hard to fill positions such as special ed, math, science.
Okay. So that would not impact the defined positions in the second bullet. This would be for other hard to fill positions. Okay.
And
Gotcha.
the reason I
Gotcha.
say that is that there may be times where if Jake could offer even, not that he's going to go straight to 10 every time, but if he could offer a few $1,000s more, and you don't have to set it at 10 either, but that might be helpful in convincing a candidate in the hard to fill areas. But you have to still have their contract match the salary schedule. So a stipend could be approved, but not additional contract amount, because
Right.
what they're going to look at for TCI is their contract amount being based off
Right.
the salary schedule.
Yeah, so then typically a stipend is for something specific, like extra tutoring or something. So Jake, how would you classify the stipend for those hard to fill positions? What would that classification be?
Uh, that's yeah. I mean, we had talked about whether this was like sign-on bonus, if this was retention bonus, if they make it past first 40 days, it's a retention bonus for them. So it would be filled in, but you're right. The problem is if we have an immediate need and we pay something like a stipend to get them onboarded, can we naturally sort of matriculate that into what their salary is so that stipend eventually goes away, other than just the recruitment year? Not to do like a bait and switch, but like if we could say, if I could say I can offer 2,000, a year for the next 3 years, then by the time they're on that third year, that's kind of where their salary is going to be over time, or something like that. And we do it as retention. They stay with us. It's a retention um, for hard to fill position. I mean, the way they did the stipend for the two hard to fill positions this year for special ed, I mean, it's just now approved in May. And so they're doing it at the end of the school year for people who met qualifying conditions for it. So they had worked at the school for a certain period of time, had to be in something like special education. And this one was specific for special education, and we only had two that qualified anyway. But hopefully it sort of encourages them at least one of them to stick on. I think the other one's retiring. So the one who's retiring, I'm sure is going to retire, but the one who's staying on, hopefully that will encourage him to stay on with us. So
Very good.
When I was thinking maybe, how would you justify it as a hiring manager, Mr. Colander? I think like you had so few applicants, or you had one applicant, or you had like it was obvious that this is a hard to fill position, or you had to go recruiting somebody, or like I don't know. You could have some qualifiers around that. But again, it's completely at the board's discretion. It was just a suggestion. These are all just suggestions.
sure. Yeah, and we probably have to come up with some kind of if we ended up in July and we're short, let's say a math teacher, a science teacher, or something, sort of what we put out there would have to be what we're putting out there for anyone at that point who needs a position to keep it less arbitrary or subjective.
Right.
But
The other thing I'm thinking is folks like to chat. And if the new teacher is making 5 grand more than a teacher who has the same level, then now you're in a pickle. Why is that person getting 5 grand more than I'm getting? We're the same teacher at the same level of education. And now you're trying to talk through that.
yeah, I will say that the new salary schedule that you all approved was readapted for the school's budget. Existing employees do not work off of that particular salary schedule. What they did
Okay.
was for returning employees, they would get whatever they qualified as on the salary schedule. This year, we applied the appropriate percentage raise for them to translate to a daily rate, and then went to contract days for it. So um, this was approved essentially for new hired employees
Okay.
coming in, is how Whitney had prepped it.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Okay.
But you're right. It would be tough because even if it's a year down the road and we bring somebody in and they get sort of a sign on or retention bonus that others don't get, that's pain. It's true. I mean, I think that option three is like nuclear option, is that we're essentially saying and especially the reason that the example came up with the RN is like that's such a specific position. We're only hiring one person. It's not quite the same as a team of people and each of them getting it, but
Right.
it just gave me some ability to flex in that space to try to make a more lucrative offer.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm telling you, the market out there for nurses is very, very tight. So I think that is absolutely fair and reasonable and appropriate.
and we might look, I don't know how, I mean, I do know other charters that do this, and for positions like math, science, special ed, because we have hired teachers away from those charters, and they have talked about, do you offer the same bonus? Theirs is offered as a single one time. I think I've seen some examples of like, this is a one time upfront, we're trying to get you onboarded here. So they have limitations to it, but it is something that I've seen other charters put into play, which in a competitive field like New Mexico is in terms of getting educators,
Okay.
it it made the difference for some who decided to go elsewhere.
Okay. Fellow board members, thoughts? I've done a lot of talking.
I went in as a part-time teacher for like 15 years, as long as I could keep it. But it was very different than it is
Yeah.
now.
Oh,
The
totally.
whole, that was a while back. And the whole system is different, but I like that you're trying to get it so that there's incentives to have them come in.
Yeah.
And especially for those I did music at that time. But there were times where they were offering, APS was offering bonuses and all this stuff. And those of us who'd been teaching for 25 years were going, huh,
Wait a minute.
my salary hasn't changed in 10 years, kind of thing. So at least I'm glad to see that you're trying to keep that up, and that can make a big difference in your school with who you hire. So
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Well then, I'll make a motion to put it into an official discussion. I move to approve the salary schedule for other positions, including but not limited to nurses and ancillary support. A second, please. And we're going to lose Heather here in a minute.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Any further questions or discussions, folks, before we
Aaron, you're
move
still
to a vote?
sharing your screen.
Thank you, Member Brown.
Right. Last call for discussion? Well then, Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the salary schedule for other positions, included but not limited to nurses and ancillary support as presented?
Are we including, I'm assuming the stipend is not part of what we're voting on, or is that part of what we're voting on?
It is part of what we're voting on, that little extra at the end, in the need, it needs to be deployed for other positions outside of the nurse and that, those three bullets there. All right,
Do you want me to
Miss
share
Dottie.
that again, Member Brown? Okay.
All right, Miss Dottie, a roll call vote to approve the salary schedule for other positions, nurses and ancillary support, but not limited to. Please.
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Member Bill Graham,
Aye.
Member Jan Schubert,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Is everyone's phone going off? All right. Very good. Thank you all. We move into board committee reports. The audit committee is retired at the moment because we've already buttoned that all up, but I'll let you know when we get back into the audit season, which is coming up sooner than later. Finance committee, Chair Brown, the floor is yours.
I believe that we covered everything in from Whitney's report, and I don't have anything else to report unless you do, Patrick.
I concur wholeheartedly. And then the facilities committee, any report out from you all?
I need to report that the facilities director, Ralph Lovato, did schedule a meeting with Ms. Anderson, myself, and Mr. Colander, but Heather and I were unable to attend due to other commitments. And so we've agreed to reschedule the meeting for next Monday afternoon. And so I feel like we'll have more information next week. However, I know that Mr. Colander is aware of the updated report that Mr. Lovato has been working on, so I'll defer to Chair Molina and Mr. Colander.
I think Mr. Colander can bring us what he's got, and then next month, after you've had an opportunity to meet, you can bring us up to speed then, Dottie. I think that's more than appropriate. So thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Very good. Brings us into section 8, our administration report. Mr. Colander, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair Molina. I appreciate time this evening. So I have a couple of items. The third one on my list is facilities. I would like if Ralph could join me for that particular part. I'm going to have him share out a little bit from his side as well. But in terms of academics, I just wanted to make sure that we have sort of broadened the thing that I had discussed prior is what we're looking on June 10th and 11th is a retreat for our administrative team because we want to keep up the idea that we've got time to spend with our directors, with our admin to discuss issues that are pressing for our school. We have noticed just some patterns that we want to make sure we're addressing as a school. So we have, our academic coach and our assistant principal have reached out that said by the end of this year, they're anticipating an increasing need for students needing extra support with math and reading. There has been this national jump in number of students who are covered under IDEA, and so our school certainly has its share of students where they're needing additional one-on-one support. There were changes as to how gifted is classified. It's no longer under special education, but we don't have a lot of guidance yet in terms of these new academic plans that gifted students need to have, how those differ from their IEPs. They won't need to do IEPs anymore, but we're not quite sure how to plan for some of those things academically. So I think this is one of the reasons why the content specialist position became important for us. Number one, they're going to help. So our school, our model involves a professional learning community or PLC framework, which means we have regular and ongoing professional development and collaborative time for our departments at the mid-high and our grade levels at the elementary to meet and discuss academic approaches, strategies in the classroom, discuss the data they're seeing as the result of interim and summative assessments in their classes. And that work is best led by somebody with time and discipline within that particular subject. And we've always had PLC chairs as a part of our school, but we noticed that on the 4-day week, we normally have PLC meetings on Fridays. On the 4-day week, it just wasn't working for us to do it, and the PLC chairs have said we would rather devote a lot of more time and energy to what's going on in our classrooms than to try to maintain the ongoing and consistent professional development when time was inconsistent for them, as we saw from how the calendar sort of laid out. So the content specialists are going to help take that work on, as well as looking at our flavor assessments, our core assessments. So a lot of the work that goes into ensuring we're maintaining that academic rigor that we want to as a school is going to kind of land on the shoulders of our content specialists. And it's important for us to see that as a collaborative space for these teachers to work within our departments. We're also going to spend some time focusing on coaching for next year. I know we haven't hit the end of this year yet, but this is about the time of year where administrators, teachers, we're all sort of thinking about what will be different about next year. And over the course of this year, we have also seen a big increase in the number of teachers who are coming to us from alternative licensure programs. What that means is that a lot of our educators are not going through the more traditional prep programs. They're doing it sort of concurrently with their teaching and learning along the way. But that just means as a school, it's sort of on us to make sure that we're adequately supporting them because they won't have completed that full sort of 4-year program for an education in order to get their teaching license. So all of these things, shifting populations, both in terms of our teaching population, our student populations, just means that academically speaking, we're going to be working in June to design this plan for next year, which feeds in, of course, to our OKR framework. Normally, I would have had a Q3 results to share out with you all for the OKRs, but so many of those we're essentially waiting for end of year data. We need our end of year assessment data to come out, our final interim assessment, which is just happening now, our final summative assessments. And so in June, I will have a more thorough academic reports for you that shares out, this is what we know so far. And then there will be testing data that's still embargoed, but at least we'll have our end of year interim assessment data, and we'll have sort of our closeout data for how students finalize the year in terms of pass rates. This is also going to be a space, like I mentioned, for OKRs, which our school adopted this year. I've loved them, and I know that they have permeated staff culture to a degree. I hope positively. I want to keep my finger on the pulse as much of it as I can. But even just last week, I had a meeting with some teachers regarding looking at some construction that we have coming up. And I said, what is it that we want to utilize with the space? And one of the teachers said, well, what's our OKR around it? They're wanting to know sort of how do we create our objectives and our key results to reflect what we're looking for out of the work that we're doing. So that language was a bit foisted upon them this year because it was new, and I presented it in our July in-service. But now, as we're wrapping up the year, we've made some tremendous progress, and finally in a way that I feel is measurable. And I want to be able to share out a more thorough sort of end of year OKR report to you all, which I will do in our June meeting. And then once we have our final summative assessment data, I'll share that out with you all as well. In terms of staffing, we mentioned the sort of difficult to staff positions. We're sort of hearing through the grapevine a little bit about what's going on. I don't know if you all saw the Albuquerque Journal report, but APS is, as we know, APS is dealing with their own struggles. They are functioning. I think what I read in the report accurately is they are functioning in the red. They are overspending. They're projecting to overspend their budget significantly for next year. They've cut many positions. I think they said about 300 out of the district that they've cut out of there, and they're being hyper competitive with positions they do need. So as an example, our college career counselor this year, Vicki Gonzalez, she's been great, but she has chosen to move on to doing something else different for next year. Trying to find someone with the qualifications to do college and career counseling is extremely competitive right now. My understanding from one of our counselors is APS has a little over 20 open positions for college and career counselors and other counseling positions. So they are clearly trying to put some money behind a premium on getting these counselors in. For a school like ours, if we don't have a highly qualified, solid college career counselor, it's a lot of trouble to try to overcome to tie them to their internships, their dual credits, their college applications. So it's going to be a long, hard road to getting that position filled specifically. Same thing with math. We're needing some math teachers. We've had some teachers that have, again, just chosen different paths. We had a long-term sub this year who's she's done her best in the classroom, but we obviously have to try to seek a highly qualified candidate before we offer a long-term subbing position. So those are the kinds of staffing needs we're having right now. Our K-5 instructional coach that you all might know, Laura Adams, has accepted one of those part-time content specialist positions for us. So we're on the hunt for a new instructional coach. We're on the hunt for special education teachers right now. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that's big at this time that we're looking for? So in general, staffing, I think we're going to be into the summer, I think, before we finish out staffing. We get a lot of applicants, but we don't get a lot of highly qualified applicants coming in. And our team is doing their best. They're sifting through applications and resumes every day to try to get people in those positions. But it's just, for some of them, it's just challenging. New Mexico is competitive when it comes to people in STEM fields. It's competitive right now with we're surrounded by a district who's trying to hire some hard to fill positions while cutting others. So we had the joy of having a plethora of health assistants apply for that role because APS cut several health assistant positions. And we have some great ones that applied. And so we sort of are reaping the benefits of that, but then struggling to find staffing for other positions. I guess actually let me do the financials first, and then we'll switch to facilities because we'll hang out a little bit of that time and give Ralph this. Nothing to report on the financials other than the fact that during this evening's board meeting, we received our notification from Sarah Cordova that they have gone ahead and sent out the memo for the House Bill 2 funds. That was the decision for the hold harmless money. We'd been cut by, I think we've mentioned in the past, a little over $1 million have been cut from our hold harmless. We got our memo tonight at about 6:30, indicating our allocation for that. So we're going to get back sometime in June a little over $600,000 deposited into our account. I don't count anything until it shows up in the bank account, as you all know. But once it hits the bank account, I'll have my conversations with Whitney Sanchez about if there are any restrictions to those kinds of funds, what we could use them for strategically, what is our advantage to being able to pull them in. So I was remembering Chair Molina when we were talking about the IRS findings saying, man, every time we get a little bit ahead, something pulls us back. And it was maybe 15 minutes after he said that we got the notification. We're getting pulled back the other way again, baby. It's looking good. So I was happy to see that number. It was more than we anticipated. We were thinking we would get somewhere around 400,000 is what we were guessing. So again, we'll not count those chickens until they have officially hatched into our account. So for facilities, I have a couple things listed on here. So Ralph, I have on my list to talk about sort of where we stand relevant to Jim, if Mick Rich has any updated timelines for Jim Black Box Theater set of completion. We did have an expansion design meeting yesterday that I'd like to talk through a little bit about what the thoughts are on that. I know, Ralph, it looks like you got a quote to go for the fields, and there's some change in that direction. And then the project scope and sources document where you're sort of tracking the spending. The SUV we already addressed earlier. It's on my list of things to talk about, but we addressed that during Lisa Hughes's component. So, Ralph, those are sort of the ones I wanted to hit on. If there's any of those you'd like to discuss in further depth, please feel free. But I'll turn the time over to you.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's good this evening. Thank you, Jake. Yes, the construction for the gym. So I just got an email and I was very sad to see it come through that they canceled tomorrow's meeting for the gym black box. I guess RJ and Derek, they're two head guys. They're out on a conference or some out of town. I don't know. But I was a little upset to hear that because we were hoping for schedule updates and hopefully some pieces of information regarding the finishing of the project. So no updates on that, and I apologize about that, but out of my control. I do. I know that. So Dottie had already stated that we did not meet this week, which is okay. We can go over it next board meeting. If you do, would you guys like me to just give you a preview of this sheet that I've been working on, just to kind of show you what direction we're going?
Sure.
Okay. Let me see if I can share. Okay. And do you guys see the project scope and sources and usage sheet?
Yeah, can you make it just a little bit larger for so some of us who need vision correct?
I am unaware of how to do that.
Up in the ribbon in the upper left-hand section is a 100%. If you use a little down
Oh,
arrow, you can make it bigger.
there we go. Let's try. Oh, a little too big.
Perfect. Perfect.
Let's try there. Okay, so our old sheets, if you'll remember. So this is my initial mock-up. Just shows all the priorities that I listed. The one that the board approved was this one that shows all the items, all the amounts, shows the construction down here at the bottom. So this is all the stuff that you guys have seen. My new sheet I'm working on. So this is, or yeah, let's go. So this is all the items listed here on the left-hand side, straight from the other sheets. The only difference I linked instead of itemizing HVAC, I listed it all as one because we're going to have a bunch of different invoices and stuff for that one. But everything, as Jake mentioned, we're already getting started. We have the fields going. We are already invoicing for that, for half of it, purchasing scissor lift for the school as well as our HVAC project coming up. Um, Janitorial supplies, we had to make a quick run. Well, our custodial crew broke a couple of our non-commercial vacuums, so we had to go get a couple commercial vacuums. And then here's one big one that we have already spent. This is a total from Johnstone and Granger. This is basically all of Galton's supplies to get their HVAC, the two units that are out right now, up and running before the start of next school year. So currently I do have our HVAC guy, Sean Crawford. He is this week and next, he is pulling apart and getting prepped, and then supplies should be coming in within the next couple weeks as well. So we should be done well before next school year, hopefully into June, but we are rolling. And I'll explain this more in detail with Heather and Dottie, and then we can bring how the whole list works because you add, subtract. We have the totals here. We can put over unders because we will be moving money back and forth. I did explain to Jake as well the construction project that we are currently talking about for Golden. I am holding off on a lot of this as a just in case. I know it was approved this way, but as that construction project gets talked about, I would like just to have reserves just in case if need be, but that's for further down the road.
You'll need to because copper is going up. Copper's out of
Steel,
control.
copper, it's going. I got a quote with the fence guy actually today to help get a kind of a mesh screening around the playground at Masthead and fix their front a little bit. And he told me if this was a bigger project, I would tell you to wait a few months until all the stuff's with the straight and with everything over there. He was all our prices are outrageous. So hopefully that project doesn't cost us too much, but um I think yeah, that's a nice little tease
Yes, thank you.
for that. And then let me see if I can stop sharing. Okay. And then other than that, as Jake mentioned, the last thing I'll touch on is we did meet with Doug Heller. He is our designer we're working with on the Golden Edition. He's an amazing guy. He's going to help us out with that project. We had the engineers meet with us last week as well, so they could take a look at the property. They're going to start on all their stuff because there's a lot of work for engineering. But the meeting with Doug went well. Jake and Anthony had some wonderful ideas on how to extend and make use of the space we're building out on the west corner, teacher lounge, office space, and then a flex space. So I'm hoping everything goes well on that project. We gave him all the ideas. We're meeting again in 2 weeks to get his mock drawings to make sure we're on board. And he plans this process about 6 weeks until he gets to full drawings where he can send to the engineers. So we have I think 2 more meetings with him to get to that point. And it's looking good. He did give us, just so you guys are aware, we're looking at this for the 27-28 school year, of course. Um, November-ish, I think he said, Jake, we should be at a point where we're at 100% drawings and out to bid. I made it apparent to him he's going to get me in contact with a few good contractors. I'm going to lean on Dottie a little bit too with her expertise. But we are going to go into this. I'm kind of going overboard, but I want to get 4 to 5 bids on this. Because if you go with three, it's amazing. You get a high, medium, and low usually. I would like to see a lot of numbers, and so we can make the best decision. Yes, Dottie.
Mr. Lovato, is is the design contract and the construction contracts being uh, uh, will they be held by the foundation?
Yeah, all of this is
All of
going
this
through
going
the
to the
foundation because they hold the money.
foundation.
I'm yes.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure.
Yes, of course. And I'll lean on everybody I can for this to help out through the process. Um, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, everything's going through the foundation with that.
So yeah, the contractors have to be able to bond for the amount of money you're spending. So
Correct.
I just want to make sure that who was handling, who holds the contracts. So
Of course, of
let
course.
me know that.
Right. But
Okay.
yeah, and other than that, I think we're in a good position with this group with the engineers and designers. It's going to go pretty flawless. And again, I want to avoid overage in the best way possible. So that's why we're waiting for 100% drawings and not trying to go out for bid at 70, 80%, something like that, and getting estimates. So this project should go off without a hitch. So
Very good. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you, sir.
And if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll be here. Karen, if you want to take off the bullet point down at the bottom for my update, we should be all good.
I'll just incorporate it into
We'll just say
Jake's
that you took care of it
output.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Very good. Thank you.
Ralph, I'm sorry, I got distracted for just a minute there. Did you talk about the change to the field?
Oh no, a good change, a change
Yeah.
that everybody's happy about. So initially I got a quote for 360,000, which was approved on that paper. But that was to do the two fields we have existing individualized. And I got a lot of feedback saying, why can't we do one big field? And I said, that's a great idea. So the contractor I initially asked to quote that gave us the 360, I brought him back out and I said, here's our plan. We would love to join these fields any way possible, but we're working off the money you told me. I didn't have because originally I estimated 500 grand, but we dropped it down. So I told him I can't pay more than 360, and he goes, "Let me check." So he went and measured, did it. I think we're going with 118 wide by 354-ish. I could be off by a couple feet, but something like that. It's going to be not quite a soccer field width, but it's gonna be a giant long field. We're taking out a couple of the trees in the middle and the landscaping there, but it's gonna be amazing. Everybody's happy. Um, the good news is he measured it. He came out to 394-ish thousand dollars. And he goes, I love working with schools. I love the way you guys have brought me back out and you're going to use me, hopefully, because I still hadn't told him yes yet. He goes, I am going to eat. So on his quote he sent us, he subtracted that as a whatever he put it as, but he brought it down $34,000 to hit his original 360. And along with that, we're getting the highest grade turf, cleat ready, everything, as well as a 4 foot track around it that's going to be crusher fun. So we made out pretty good on that one, bringing him back and working with him. So I'm very happy to report that one.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad because we are going to be the board might see if you when you visit the campus maybe over the next year, you're going to see some small and some large trees that are on our landscaping at Galton go down because we're trying to make room for all this stuff to happen, which
Yeah.
I told Ralph already, like we're going to have to discuss in a year of landscaping plan because I don't want to lose all the natural shade that's on the campus. But to make room for some of the facilities, some of it's got to go. But I was excited to think we're going to get the full field experience as well. So thank you, Ralph.
Thank you guys. If you need me, I'll be here for a little bit.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And just so the board knows, we have brought some teachers in for all these discussions, like moving into that new multi-purpose space, the development of a new staff lounge, those kinds of conversations, and the new classrooms. We brought the music teacher in to say, how do we make these work for your program? Because we're sort of starting to say, let's make sure we're refining every aspect of the thing that we do, so that we have input inside it, but we're also making sure it's matching the growing need. And I think we worked together to say, let's prioritize designing a great space for our teachers outside of their classrooms to have a nice new staff lounge. And that just shift in thinking about it sort of reshaped how we're planning to build out that whole space over there. And I was glad to get some feedback. So thank you. Okay, and that's my piece. I think we're good to move on. So
Thank you very much. Well, then I would like to open the floor to our Director of Operations, Mrs. Alicia Bayard. Here she comes.
Hello.
Hello there. Long time no see.
I know it's been a while. So two options. I can go through everything, or you guys can tell me what questions you have. I wanted to give you guys that option since I know these meetings go long. I didn't want to just read to you.
I do have a question. I did read your report earlier today, and my question is, how in the heck do you get all that done?
With a lot of help from a really great team of people. Yeah. I wish I could be like, I do everything. Thanks, guys. But But no, it's just the people I work with are just super good. So I'm really happy to work with them. Yeah, it's a lot of coordinating. I spend a lot of time coordinating. Like I probably more than I had in previous years. This year and last year was so much coordinating where it's like making sure the right people are doing the right tasks. And so sometimes I give you guys updates of things that have been done, but I didn't like physically do the things. Like Lisa does all the applications now.
Right.
I just coordinate and make sure that, you know, and I answer the questions when she gets things where she's like, I've never seen this because I've probably seen it in the last 11 years. And so I can give guidance. But yeah, lots of just really good people. We're lucky.
Awesome. My other question on a little bit more of a serious is the report was, as always, detailed and well accomplished. What grants or other monetary opportunities are out there that you all are looking at that aren't on the report because you haven't done anything? Are there new opportunities for us to go get either restricted or unrestricted, probably restricted funds to help our continuing mission and the flavors that we offer? And what does that look like? And maybe just a couple of examples.
Yeah, Lisa has been looking into grants and what we can do. We have seen a big trend lately, and I don't know if this is just like a political thing. I don't know what is going on, but there is a lot of funding for states that have expanded school choice options, particularly vouchers. And a lot of individuals, philanthropists, big organizations, they are funneling their money that direction. Um, Partly because of what opened up with the big beautiful bill. There's just a lot of politics behind it. So that's been really frustrating because in a state like New Mexico, that is really prohibitive for what we can get. There's also so many opportunities that are highly restrictive for like extreme poverty schools. So schools that have upwards of 80, 90, 100% free and reduced lunch students, which then we don't qualify for. And then the last trend that we're noticing is that there's a lot of things that they're like, we would like to donate or we'd like to do these things, whether it's grants, fellowships, whatever type of money, but you need to be a 501c3. And so now that the bond deal is complete, and hopefully, I think Patrick, you and I talked about this at some point. Hopefully, we can get everything situated with the new foundation that does have a 501c3 that allows for that. The current foundation doesn't allow that. That can then go at the foundation's discretion straight to the school. So we're looking at all those different avenues to try to figure out where can we get that. I am happy to have Lisa come to the next meeting and kind of see what she has found in her search, but it's been disheartening. I mean, it's heartening for a lot of kids across the country and across New Mexico, but not for us. So still trying to figure that out, and figure out what we can qualify for. So much that we've attempted to apply for, we've just been turned down outright for being in New Mexico or lacking the credentials, the demographics that they are looking for. So I will keep you updated as we move through that process. But a couple of our funds from the state did get it increased going into next year, like CTE, which is helpful. I'm hoping that with the black box, we can expand that program since we've got extra money from CTE. We also might be able to expand the salary of this dual credit counselor, the dual enrollment counselor, the college career, just because we did get a little bit more money. We just are always restricted by the salary schedule because they are on a salary schedule. But if we can figure out a creative way to do that and use CTE money, maybe it's extra duties and we can sweeten the pot for someone. Maybe we can attract them away from CNM or UNM. Or APS. Wow. You could tell my kids are about to go to college. It's on my brain is college. I'm so sorry. So yeah, we just found that out. Lisa just found out this past week that our allocation went up in a way we weren't expecting. Now, do we always believe that? No. We'll wait. Like Jake said, I'm going to wait till I see an actual award letter that says we got that, because they say, here's your predicted amount, and then they change it. So, and our favorite CTE person resigned from PED, so she's not there anymore, and we're very sad about that because she was so good. So yeah, well, I'll keep you updated. I'm hoping that we can find some more things, even if we have to go the 501c3 route and just get it back to the school that way, then we'll do that.
Wonderful. I had to find my button. Any questions, gang? Like I said, I read it earlier and I was more than satisfied with what I read. But if you all have any other questions, please feel free.
Well, I did add something new this year. At the very
Okay.
bottom, I did put like questions for me, anything else you'd like to see, even if you want me to
I saw
change
that.
the format of the reports. Like I realized I didn't really ask about this last year, and I think it would be good for you all to tell me kind of like, yes, we like this format. No, we don't. We want it different. That way I'm giving you exactly what you're kind of looking for, whether it's more, less, different. So any feedback, even if you leave this meeting today and you're like, you know what, I just thought of something, like feel free to send me an email and just say, hey, what about this? Can we add this in? I'm open to the feedback. And even for my position, like, is there something you want me to do differently? Is there something you wish I was doing, something you don't want me to do anymore? I'm always open to feedback because I just want to serve the school the way you guys are kind of picturing for my position, since it is kind of a unique position.
That it is, but I saw your questions on the bottom, and I chuckled to myself, thinking I'm a very simple thinker, so the way you outline it all and just give me each bullet is fine with me. But fellow board members, if you do have any questions or recommendations, please feel free to share now or later, anytime. But I like the fact that I can read it once, get it, and say, I don't know how she does it all. That was my takeaway.
Well, we do also have the monthly updates that we provide the head admins, and I think maybe you guys get them, but those ones kind of have everybody on the team, and it's much more granular at times. So I think there's always like I'm trying to not overwhelm at board meetings, because really we could go back over all the months and kind of look at a more granular level. But I try to put on here anything that's exciting or that is done, or anything that I maybe am worried about, like we're like that stupid issue with Clever. Like, I just wanted to let everyone know. I know that it's a day-to-day thing, and you guys are like, that's great, fix it. But it's good to know that sometimes there are weird things, and the school is kind of working around them, because we're not always in control of everything. But yeah, if you guys change your minds or you think of anything, please let me know. I'm happy to adjust in any way.
Absolutely, will do. Fellow board members, any parting questions for Miss Berta? No? Yeah. No, like I said, easy to read, easy to understand. So well done. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, hopefully some of you guys will be at graduation. I will be there. I have 2 graduates this year I'm pretty excited about. And 2 next year. It's going to be a big, 12 months of us. But yeah, I'm excited for graduation. I don't normally attend, and this year I'm really excited to attend as a parent. So
awesome. I plan on being there.
Awesome. Well, I'll see some of you there. And if not, you guys enjoy your summer, and feel free to call me back to any meeting if you ever would like me to drop in.
You got it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I believe that brings us to Miss Karen Warner's section of general updates and reminders. Miss Karen.
Yes, but I think Jake had something he wanted to share before I go. So
no, he's done. We move on. No, I'm joking. Go ahead, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. I apologize, and I absolutely will make this quick. So if I misspoke earlier, I want to clarify. It was 600,000 that was approved from our hold harmless. I didn't know if I had said that or if I had said 6,000, and I walked away going, I want to make sure that number was clear. I didn't want to get overly excited till it's actually sitting in our account, because we were told in March at the spring budget workshop, oh, you've already received whatever monies you're going to get. I don't know, we didn't get anything. So I've sort of been anxious.
$739. You're at $739.
Yeah, 739. And yes, I just wanted to make sure that was clear. And then just 2 quick things for the board that I think is important for you all to know. On June the 2nd, we are having an extravaganza for our orientation for our school. It'll be the first time we've done something like this. Our new marketing person, Sierra, is doing a great job pushing this out. But this is our orientation for new families combined with informational night for our upcoming families, for families that might be interested in the school. So I would invite the board members, if you are interested. It's 5:30 to 8:30 on the 2nd. Things will really kick off closer to 6:30, because our 5:30 to 6:30 are for the most part presentations, but we're working on getting vendors there, as well as a couple of food trucks there, and hopefully our new families coming out and being welcomed warmly to our school, to our neighborhood, etc. And then we are also, I'm going over with the principal from our Mid-High, Anthony Branch, and our activities director, Richard Hilcomb. The 3 of us will be recording our New Mexico Living appearance next week on the 21st for our 2nd round of being on KRQE's New Mexico Living, so that we can just our segment to be on there to push for this June 2nd extravaganza. And I would have felt awful if you would have seen it on the news before I reported it directly to you myself and invited you to attend. So I wanted to make sure to get that in there, and I had forgotten that during my report, so I apologize.
We'll
And
let you
I too will
slide.
be at the extravaganza
Ooh, very good.
answering
Awesome.
questions. So on my section, most of it is just the usual, the monthly update from the team. If you want to see what some of the others are doing that support Mr. Colander and Miss Bayardo, that's provided every month under general updates and reminders, your monthly update. Feel free to read it. Let me know if you have questions. I'm assuming at this late hour you don't have any, but feel free to ask if you do. Also, you may not have known that you had an official board meeting observation by the CSD. I think at your last, not the last meeting, because that was a special meeting, the
That
April
was
14th meeting, and got a report or your report back. Mr. Colander and I and Ms. Sanchez don't agree with everything on the report, so
agreed.
Mr. Colander has sent a response back to CSD asking them to review those because maybe Ms. Sanchez didn't title the reports the same way that the CSD was looking for, but she did provide the information. So
Yes.
we are going to be sure to get that updated. But overall, it was a very good report. You guys run very good meetings, and kudos to the chair, but also to all of you. Really nice. And I thought it was a great observation report, but there were some things that weren't correct. It should have been even
Agreed.
better. So
Agreed.
that's linked there for you. Also have the response that Jake sent that I'll link as well in the minutes. The next thing is just something most of you are familiar with, but we do evaluations you do evaluations every year. I linked on the agenda a guidance document that sort of kind of summarizes it all. And then for all three evaluations. You have a head administrator evaluation to do, one for the director of operations, and one of your own self-assessments. I linked a document for you to review, and then a Google form that you could go and submit those responses. All of you are required to do it independently for each one, and then Mr. Molina, as chair, has the honor of compiling that and bringing it back, particularly at the next meeting, particularly if there's any discrepancy, we will have a closed session for you to be able to discuss before you finalize at the next meeting. So, and that would most likely be around any issues where maybe you don't agree on the scoring or what was going on. But either way, we'll have a closed session next month to review that. And related to that then is also item number 4, which you will be considering the annual contracts for next year for your head administrator and director of operations. I'm pretty confident you're bringing them back or you would have had some warnings to them. So, but details on the contract and renewals, again, will be discussed in closed session and voted on at the June meeting. We also, I have to go look at your contract you just approved for Vertex, but that may require you may have already approved it for next year, but typically we have to do an annual approval, and maybe we don't need it because it's so recent. I have to check, but you may have to just do a formal acknowledgement of that. And then, of course, renewing your contract with Miss Matthews.
So because we had to put out a quote because we knew we were gonna exceed 60,000. Do we need to do that again this year for the new contract, or does she get to roll over if we approve, or do we have to go out
Good
for bids
question.
again?
I'm going to have to go look at how that RFP was worded.
Okay.
Like the school transportation contract that we did last year. If it didn't include the renewals, then we may have to revisit that again.
Okay.
But let me look into that and let you know as soon as possible, and certainly well before the next meeting, so that we know how we have to proceed.
Yep.
But thanks for the
Perfect.
question. Good question.
Thanks.
And then,
Yes,
go
Ms.
ahead,
Dottie.
I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were through speaking. I can't look at the documents. So
You can't look at them. Let me see.
yeah, the monthly update. It says you're the owner, and when I try to open it, it tells me that I don't have enough room to look at the document. So we can talk about that later, but I was very interested in the the board assessment, but so.
Okay, so the board observation isn't opening either for you
Mm-mm.
on
No.
number 2?
Mm-mm.
Is anyone else having that problem? I think it may,
It just did open. I apologize.
yeah, I
Okay.
think it may be your computer, but Dottie, I'm happy to send, or anyone, if you're not able to open the links, let me know. Just shoot me an email what you need and I'll email it out.
Okay.
I
Yeah, they
apologize.
opened okay for me earlier today, so
Thank you. Okay, I apologize. Thank
no,
you.
no worries,
No
no
worries.
worries.
Number 5, just thought you might want to know your Public Education Commission, your chartering authority, is having elections in November. And as you can see, the folks are, I just listed who's running. There's a primary June 2nd and then a general election on November 3rd. Um, and thought you might be interested. I was particularly surprised that um, Patricia Gibson, who's been on that commission for many years, is not running,
She's not
um,
running.
actually
And
retiring. So
yep, and Mr. Beck is moving on as well.
he is. So just thought you'd be interested in knowing that and be watching for voting. Get out and vote. And nag, 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 it's the end of the year. Make sure your training's done.
Yep, it is on the audit. We get audited on that, gang, so make sure we're up to and touching. Thank you, Ms. Warner. Item number 9, board comments. Any board comments from the board members? Of course, I have one. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very much, especially for the subcommittees as well. We put a lot of effort into this that the general public doesn't get to see. So thank you all so very much. We'd like to open it up for public comment. If we have any public here to comment.
Nobody lasted this long. They're all gone.
Okay, they're all gone. Alrighty. Then I hereby adjourn this meeting at 8:46 p.m. Our next regular scheduled meeting is Tuesday, June 9th at 5:30 via this platform. Again, thank you all so very much. Can't do this without you. Have a wonderful rest of your evening, gang.